So first of all, welcome to all and really appreciate your time and being here. It's great to touch base with you. This is our question and answer session. I am listed Dr. April Dobroth, and I am the clinical director here at Frontier Nursing University for our psychiatric mental health program. Our department chair is Dr. Jess Callahan. Creating a culture of caring. This is something that has been in existence at Frontier Nursing University for quite some time. This past year, I think it has really come to light in the face of COVID, where we face so many challenges, both at the personal, community, and even national, international levels. I have to say personally that I've seen faculty, students, administration, staff really come together during these challenging times. And so when we talk about creating that culture of caring, it's really put into practice. And also want to extend a very special congratulations and celebration of National Nurse Practitioner Week. So again, I am the clinical director of the Psychiatric Nurse Practitioner Program. I am also board certified as a family nurse practitioner as well. Today, we have several students with us. I apologize if your name is not on this particular slide. We have April Hanline, who was in the class of 188. We also have Mr. Keith Early, who is currently completing his clinical coursework. And I also bring to you Paul Kibbe, who is also, you get to see him live here, who is also working on his clinical coursework as well. So, I mentioned that we have the culture of caring. The mission here at Frontier is to provide accessible nurse midwifery and nurse practitioner education to prepare competent, entrepreneurial, ethical, and compassionate leaders in primary care, as well as specialty care, to serve individuals with an emphasis on women and families in need and working with underserved populations. Now, that's quite a bit of information there, but I do want to focus on a couple of things. One thing that makes Frontier particularly unique as a program, from my vantage point, having been here for several years as a faculty member and now in a position of leadership, I do have to say that one consistent message that I hear over and over again from clinical preceptors, clinicians, clinic systems, and hospital networks is that the Frontier Nursing University graduates are very competent and well prepared when they enter as new practitioners. So it's an intensive program. I will be perfectly candid about that. It's intensive, but you will be very well prepared. And this degree is very well respected in the industry. The other thing I wanted to go ahead and point out as well, entrepreneurial focus. There are several components within each of the program tracks that really helps students to develop that entrepreneurial spirit and really have the knowledge and skills that they need to even open their own practices and serve within their communities. So that's something that I have to say is very unique to Frontier. So distance education, oftentimes when you hear the term distance education, you might think of very little contact, really being isolated, maybe checking into a course online. That is not at all what Frontier is about. And I can speak to this both as a two-time graduate. I received my family nurse practitioner degree from Frontier and went on to get my DNP as well from Frontier. Frontier has a very unique way of bringing students together. And while some of these activities were completed in the virtual environment most recently due to COVID restraints and restrictions, there's quite a bit of opportunity for interaction in the campus environment as well. So there are a couple of different ways in which Frontier has accomplished this. There's a great deal, I have to say, a great deal of interaction within the classroom setting online. Online learning is something that Frontier has been doing for quite some time. They really innovated the process in creating that accessibility for students for several decades. They do it very, very well. So this is not a new game to Frontier. This isn't something that was created from brick and mortar environment and has now, been modified accordingly. Frontier does online learning very well. When you enter the program, there is something called a Frontier Bound. That is where you will actually travel to campus and meet members of your cohort, faculty members, administration, and folks from all different departments who can help you along the way. But you get that very unique opportunity to meet them in person, to put the face with the name. Even though the Versalis campus is much larger than the campus in Hayden, Kentucky, I have to say that that same level of intimacy and focus exists on the campus. And you very much as a student will feel at home and welcomed when you come. As you shortly before you begin the clinical coursework, you will also complete what's called a clinical bound experience, where you will come to Versalis as well. And during this clinical bound experience, you have a very unique opportunity within the psychiatric program, for example, to really get a lot of interaction working with complex patients, both in the video environment and also in person. So that's very exciting. And they've done a great job of integrating these simulation exercises within the program. And again, you'll feel very well prepared after clinical bound to walk out into your clinical coursework and feel very competent and ready to work in that clinical environment. The structure of Frontier's program is a little bit different than some other programs you may have heard of. There are several programs out there that integrate clinical coursework within each didactic course. For example, many programs may have a pediatric psychiatric course where you would then complete your clinical experience in pediatrics during that course. Frontier has chosen to really complete all of that didactic coursework on the front end, so that by the time you get to the clinical coursework, or what I like to coin the phrase where the rubber meets the road, you are very well prepared. You've had a great deal of experience in treating patients across the lifespan. You have a great deal of knowledge in a number of counseling modalities, and things that you'll find very valuable in practice. She is oftentimes considered the grandmother of psychiatric mental health nursing. And the first clinical nurse specialist program was developed by Dr. Hildegard Peplau in 1955. So this is not something that's new to the scene. This is a practice that's been around for quite some time and was really birthed out of the dire need for patients to access those valuable psychiatric services. And psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners may practice in all 50 states and some foreign countries. And there's another country just south of us, Belize, where you can also practice and have full practice standards as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I mention this because we're seeing a great deal of expansion in this profession, and it's hypothesized that this will also continue in the future. So. Just want to talk briefly about Frontier Nursing University's history and some of the really key achievements of the university. Frontier has over 80 years of experience in graduate nursing and really led the way in advanced practice through its midwifery program in Hayden, Kentucky, and the Frontier Nursing Service. Students and alumni are represented in every state within the United States and many countries abroad through military servicemen and women. So we're across the globe. There are more than 2,000 students currently, and we have over 8,000 graduates. So this is really exciting. And here's some really great information that I think will help you feel very confident as you enter the program. The most recent 2020 ANCC pass rates for the board exam were well over 94%. That is increasing as well over time. So 2021 will look even better. Just to give you a perspective, the ANCC national pass rate is around 76%. So very high pass rate. And in 2019, the Frontier Nursing University psychiatric program demonstrated 100% pass rate. So very exceptional results that way. Again and again, FNU graduates really consistently exceed the national average in all 3 domains of testing by at least 10%. So another thing that makes Frontier very unique, we have what is called regional clinical faculty members, and every organization loves its acronyms. Here at Frontier, we refer to that as the RCF, Regional Clinical Faculty. Your regional clinical faculty member actually follows you throughout the course of your learning. So you'll first be introduced to these individuals shortly after you complete the Frontier Bound that I mentioned. But they will follow you and really help to support you until, throughout your entire coursework and as you enter the clinical coursework. They will serve as your academic advisor and really your mentor and key contact person throughout your clinical coursework. They will be the individual that's not only grading your materials, but they will also be following you throughout the course of that coursework. Another thing that makes Frontier very unique, the regional clinical faculty members will actually go to the clinic system. Sometimes this has been adapted to the virtual environment just based on COVID again, but typically the regional clinical faculty member will actually go out to the clinic where you are completing your clinical rotations and spend about a half day with you and touch base with you, touch base with your preceptor. This happens about halfway through your clinical coursework. And this is really just designed to help you truly focus your learning needs and get the very best out of the program that you possibly can. We have a whole host of teams, and we've got some great individuals on the session today, on the Zoom session today, academic advisors. We also have a whole team of clinical advisors that will help you in securing clinical sites in your area and securing sites that will meet your needs to help prepare you to see patients across the lifespan. We have all types of online student mentoring groups. We have a variety of diverse groups as well. And we have a very robust financial aid and scholarship department. Again, that, we've got folks that'll follow you throughout the process and really help to support you as you work through this degree program. Our online library services are very extensive and really include not only a whole host of different search engines specific to psychiatry, for example, but you also have access to a number of e-textbooks as well that you will find very valuable as you study in the program. We have a very extensive diversity impact program, and this is something that has really also been integrated into the coursework throughout the program, and we continue to do so proactively in course design. So I would like to call on some of our students that are with us today. Can you just please speak to, if you could just introduce yourself first, let us know where you're at in the program from a timeline standpoint, if you're a recent alumni, if you're a current student, where you're at through the program, and also why did you pursue this degree at Frontier Nursing University?
I'm in rural Louisiana, real close to Arkansas. I chose to be in the program in psych because I worked in ER and critical care, and there's so many people was pretty much sedated and put to the side, and they wasn't getting psych care because that they was just getting their 72 hours and they wasn't getting any care at all. And that bothered me. We had a psych area in ER, and that's all they did, lock them up and sedate them. And some of them was bad life decision, life choices. And if I was locked up for all the bad decisions I made in my life, I'd probably be still locked up right now. I finished my clinical hours today, so I'm done. I've finished today. So I'm waiting to test. I can tell you, I chose FNU. One big reason, they've been doing it for a long time, and they're ranked by the World News Report. I think they're 5 online for the MSN, and I think they're 10 for the DNP or something like that, or something close. I know they're up there, and that made a difference for me. And I can do all my clinicals in the end because I wanted to go and be function when I got the clinical. I didn't feel like it was fair to our preceptor to have them teach me along the way.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paul Kibbe. I live in Mountain View, Arkansas. So I'm up here in the Ozarks. I'm sitting on top of a mountain. I chose FNU basically because I started out with the bridge program. Unfortunately, FNU no longer has a bridge program. However, I was honored to be part of the bridge program. Because, like Keith, I also saw that as far as the ranking of FNU, and not only that, I had 4 other peers who had told me had they started over or tried it again, they would have gone to Frontier, and for me to go to Frontier, that they would not have chosen their other schools. And so when I looked into Frontier, I was quietly amazed. And I think one of the biggest things about Frontier that really stood out for me was the bound. Because going into bound, especially with bridge and then crossing the bridge and so forth, you go to bound and you get to meet different peers that are all over the country. And you actually do feel bond. And I still have a bond with a lot of my students, or a lot of the students in my class. So I am presently in almost my midterm of clinical. Had a little glitch in my issue, but it's all working out good. And I can honestly say that FNU has been really positive. We've even had, I think another good thing I want to bring up is when we say circle up, and you'll hear that a lot in FNU, we've had several students with the COVID who have been affected by COVID. And each time, all we have to do is put a message out on my class. My class has their own Facebook page. And then also through FNU, you can ask for a circling up around somebody. And that allows the students to realize that they're not alone, that someone's there, their peers understand, they're 100% behind them. So again, the bounds are so important to me. COVID did cause an issue for us for some of us to get to go to campus, but I think bound is really perfect. I think I love that. I love the model of FNU's getting that camaraderie of your peers together. Thanks, and welcome to FNU.
And Paul is a great example of an FNU graduate. He mentioned the bridge program. And please correct me if I get this wrong, Paul. The bridge program was originally designed to really facilitate nurses that enter the nursing field and go all the way through to the bachelor's level, then on into the master's level. Did I hit that?
That's it. I had my
Okay.
AD. I've been a nurse 30 years, got my AD, and then did the bridge, and I loved it. And I want to mention this too, because I do got to give a big holler out to the bridge faculty that were there. They totally molded our class. They made us to be the FNU students that we were, and made us so proud to be part of FNU. So yeah, great. It was great.
Nice. Paul's a great example of that. So thank you so much. April, can I call on you to just speak to your experience?
Hi, absolutely. So, yeah, my name's April, and I am, as Paul is as well, halfway through my clinical rotation. I also had a little hiccup, so I pushed off my final date a little bit, but everything's working out just fine. I live in Murray, Kentucky. It's in the western part of the state, about a 4-hour drive away from the campus, so not too far. I chose Frontier. I was a travel nurse, and I knew that I wanted to pursue my master's degree. At the time, I chose to start in family. That's what I thought my focus was. Then chose to move back to my hometown and stay there during COVID, and realized that there was such a need for psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners in the area. So I switched courses and went to that. Let's see, choosing Frontier. I chose Frontier for the rural health focus, even though I was going to be practicing potentially out in Oregon. It was still in a rural environment, and that was important to me. And then also addressing underserved communities and populations, the social justice aspect of the work that is like embedded within Frontier was really key for me. My area of focus is queer rural mental health, and it fits just perfectly within Frontier's mission and its goals, and you'll see that reflected within faculty and other clinical providers, as well as other students. And so I think that that's a richness that I'm not sure. I possibly could have gotten it somewhere else. I don't know, but I really find that that's something that I'm very, very happy about. And the entrepreneurial aspect of it as well, as this may come up later in other questions, but that's something I hadn't considered. And if it hadn't been presented in the coursework in the way that it is, I think I would have missed out on that opportunity to see myself as an independent practitioner in the ways that I do. So that's some stuff I wanted to add.
Thank you so much, April. That was great. I appreciate it.
Hey, Dr.
And-
Dobrow, may I
Yeah.
add one more thing?
Please.
Because the only other reason I didn't get to mention why I mentioned, but I live here in a 100% rural area. And inbound, we got to do a presentation about what in our community and what was it mainly in our community that we wanted to focus on. And in my community, at first I thought it was about dealing with meth and so forth. And as I got to dig a little further, what I found and what was great about FNU was that it helped me dig a little bit more and more into my community. And what I found was that in my community, that it was men who were committing suicide more so than anyone else. And as a matter of fact, while I was doing my survey, I found there was 2 men that committed suicide, and they were accused of accidental shootings, because that's how the sheriff's departments and stuff were doing this, because they didn't want to bring shame upon the families. And these are farmers who have lost their money through ranching and so forth, or lost a big farm and have to take care of their parents. And they go out in the woods, and evidently, and then as we digged a little further, we found out that they were dealing with massive depression. They were dealing with massive types of emotional discord in their own selves. So that was another reason too, is because it really brought to light for me that I even got to, through FNU, it helped me make a pamphlet about Stop the Stigma in Stone County. Men look up. And so I had these pamphlets made and put them all around town, and they actually were being taken. And that was something that I wouldn't have done had it not been for me starting at FNU and finding out.
Anything else you all would like to add, or maybe that I didn't touch base on from a student perspective that would be important?
I also I want to strongly encourage anyone who does choose to go to FNU to become involved as best you can. I think that the online aspect of it can leave you feeling somewhat disconnected in some ways, just because of the nature of it. But there are ways to get involved through there's 2 mentorship programs that are available that I'm aware of. There may be even more. There's also special interest groups that are being developed that will provide that sense of camaraderie outside of just coursework that I think are very important for us to facilitate, and we welcome as many members as possible to join those. And also to know that you can be a change agent in your community. And I think that's one of the biggest parts too, like what Paul had mentioned, that community aspect, I think has really been key for me to really dig into that and not just be like, oh, I'm just going to be a provider. I'm going to get this to just be a provider, but to really open up all of those possibilities of what you can be for your community. Just wanted to stress that again.
Thank you, April. And I have to say, April is a great example of, you know, someone that's really jumped in and been very active in the Frontier community. I know you've been involved with some pretty exciting programs and groups, so thank you for that.
And there's another thing too that I think as a future student needs to know, that a lot of times with your class, there is a class representative that you get to elect, that all of your class gets to elect to be your class representative. And your class representative does get to go to meetings. And before the meetings, that representative will ask you if you have anything that's come up that you feel is not right, or that you feel that you really want to bring up to the president and the school as to what's going on, so that they can have a focus as to what they can do to make it better. And so take advantage of that student representative whenever they say, hey, do you have anything out there? You know, email them immediately, get the forms in on time, because it's important. Because when you sit with Dr. Slager and the rest of the student representatives, because the student council isn't just one class, it's all of them. And so there's a lot of people that talk, and a lot of things get resolved quickly, much more quickly or that way. And not only that, they come up with a plan, and you get to get a resource back and an answer back to your question. And that's good. So don't ever feel that you don't have a voice, because at FNU, you do have a voice.
Thank you, Paul. That's wonderful. Yeah, and I can speak to that from the student perspective. As an alumni, I served as student council co-chair, and when you bring those concerns forward, or ideas, or, you know, innovative thoughts, it doesn't just stop. It really is heard, and students do have a voice. Keith, it looked like you had some input, so please, I'd love to hear from you.
So one of the things that I love about Frontier, when they always says that they care about you, if they have a problem, as long as you tell them. And as you know, Dr. Dobroff, I had a huge issue recently, and Dr. Dobroff and everybody else, they came around and said, okay, we can fix this. It's not unfixable. And they did whatever. I mean, they went out their way to fix the problem. I got to say, they really just say they care. They walk the walk. They just don't talk the talk. And about the business model that Dr. Dobroff talked about earlier. So there's a course, I forget the name of it, that you have to basically write a business plan, and what if you'll be the owner of your course. So during that course, I took my business plan, and my wife's a nurse practitioner, and we opened our own practice in July during that course, and we knew enough from that class to be financially stable. We was in the black within 3 weeks. So that's a great class. A lot of information there.
Wow, that's great, Keith, and thank you so much. And you know, again, you're a great example of, you know, that entrepreneurial spirit and really serving your community. So I thank you for that. Looks like we have a couple questions in the group. Oh, thank you, Dr. Olson. Happy Veterans Day. Yes, I apologize, I didn't catch that. Very, very grateful to you all, you veterans. And the course is Principles of Independent Practice. Thank you, April. Any further questions? I want to take a moment. April had mentioned several ways to reach out within the Frontier community. One particular way is our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I mentioned that we are in the process of really proactive proactively integrating this thought process into the curriculum. So when we talk about inclusion, belonging, diversity, and equity, I like that phrase, where the rubber meets the road. We're really making it happen and making those changes at the course level, at the organizational level, and really supporting students. I'm involved with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, and we have several ways in which we provide not only educational services, but also provide students with an open channel should they have concerns. They can certainly come forward with any concerns that they might have, and feel safe in doing so. So the overall goal of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office is to ensure that students, faculty, and staff are provided with an environment that promotes welcoming across the board. And I have to say that I've seen this in action, and I'm very, very pleased to be a part of it. And we really are, one of the primary goals is also to provide educational equality. We talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion really equaling equality, but I think it's a step further. It's also honoring the differences that make us unique and bring assets to the table, right? So it's not just about equality across the board, it's also about honoring those differences and really creating a sense of belonging within an organization.
Dr. Dobrod,
Yes.
you have a question from Hannah.
Yes.
What is the format of the online classes? Is it live or recorded?
Most of the time, and please jump in and let me know what your most recent experience is, but it could be a combination thereof. So while the courses are designed to be very flexible for the adult learner in particular, so you can do it, it can be very flexible as far as deadlines and whatnot. There is a level of interaction that's also incorporated within the courses. And I have to say, as an alumni, I found that to be particularly unique to Frontier. I've been involved with other online learning programs, and I think FNU really does a great job of that. Do you all have any feedback or you want to add to that?
I will. So
sure.
There's usually a lecture once a week, most classes. To be honest with you, to be totally realistic, I used to watch the videos because you can speed up the time in the videos 1.5, so you can get to the videos a little bit quicker. You can go back to see what you're studying.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah.
I used to watch them live, and the main reason for that is because for me, I'm a very visual learner, and I also have to hear it sometimes 2 or 3 times. I also learn by color. So therefore, like when I explain that to my faculty, one faculty, even whenever she and I met privately, she emailed me a color coordinated note on our lesson, and it helped me tremendously. So there's great things like Keith said you can, but there have been times when because you don't have time that day because you're maybe working or whatever. But so then you can go and you can watch the recording of they call them BBBs, big blue button, and you can watch the BBB recorded, and then so you have that chance to see it again. And I strongly suggest that you do listen to them because it does go along with, there's valuable information in those BBBs to help you with your testing, and then also help you kind of guide towards what you need to study and where you need to focus some of your study on.
Thank you so much, Paul. I also wanted to point out from this slide that we have a FNU for a number of years has been hosting a diversity impact conference. It's wonderful. And so if you get the yeah, April's got the thumbs up. If you have the opportunity to experience that, it's pretty neat. So amongst the top colleges for diversity. FNU is a national leader in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and has been a 3-time winner of the Insight into Diversity Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award. So you can see the years in which that has occurred. So
you have another question, I think.
Ooh, okay. It looks like I got a couple here. Let's see. Thank you, Dr. Olson. What are the different tracks in terms of length and credits per semester? Boy, what a perfect segue. Here we go. What a perfect segue. So as you can see, we have several different degree options. We have the master's level MSN option. We also have a postgraduate certification option. And we also have the direct entry doctoral option as well. As far as timeframes, we are on the term system. So we have 11-week terms with 2-week breaks between each course during the didactic courses. Now, once you enter into the clinical courses, those courses are really designed to be free-flowing. So you should move from one to the next, because as I described to many students, clinic is really where the rubber meets the road, and it's like learning a new language. So the more that you're immersed in that language, the better prepared you're going to be when you complete that clinical coursework. So unlike the didactic coursework, you're not going to have those breaks in between. Typically, the MSN program takes 2 to 3 years to complete. The postgraduate certification program on average takes 1 year to 1.5 years. And you can see the time frame as well for the doctoral program. So again, the DNP may take anywhere from 15 to 18 months. So let's talk a little bit about admissions criteria. So for the MSN program, you must be an RN with a current active license, hold a bachelor's degree, and that can be in any field. You must have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or higher from the highest nursing degree earned. So if you had completed an MSN, for example, that was not in a nurse practitioner track, that would be your highest nursing degree earned. You must be in good academic standing with all prior educational work, and you must have a minimum of 1 year of nursing experience. For the postgraduate certification criteria, very similar to the MSN program, but you must hold a master's degree or higher in nursing, and you must be certified as an advanced practice nurse in any one of the following specialties. So you can see the list of recognized specialties. Upcoming deadlines. So I hope you're all excited and thinking about Frontier, and in so doing, this is just a little insight into the different application deadlines. Our next application deadline is January 19th, and that would mean that is for coursework beginning in July. The April deadline would be for coursework beginning in October. Several application steps include the online application. You'll be required to complete several essays, submit a CV, and also obtain several health professional references. And be prepared. You'll want to, as you walk through the application process, you want to start together all of those official transcripts and request those items. Now it mentions a portfolio for non-BSN students. So one extra step, if you do not hold a bachelor's degree in nursing, you would need to complete a portfolio, and all of this information regarding the portfolio and admissions requirements can be found on the Frontier Nursing University website. And we have the most recent tuition is $636 per credit hour. One focus of Frontier is really trying to create a very high quality education at an affordable price. Clinical experience. So within the psychiatric program, you would be required, if you're a master's level student, to complete a minimum of 675 clinical hours. And if you do the math of 40 hours per week, that works out to be a minimum of 16 weeks that you would be in the clinical coursework. As a postgraduate student, the minimum would be 540 clinical hours, and you may complete that as quickly as 14 weeks of the clinical coursework. If you're doing the companion D&P, you'll want to factor in an additional 360 hours of clinical coursework towards that D&P degree. Just take a look. What clinical sites are required and how competitive is it to get into the program? Okay, I'll try and hit both of those separately. So as far as clinical site requirements, this is a degree that's designed to provide you with all of the skills that you need to see patients across the lifespan. That being said, you'll want to ensure that you have adequate clinical sites that can accommodate both adult, geriatric, and also pediatric visits. Just in the nature of psychiatry, it's more often that a provider will specialize as a pediatric psychiatric provider versus someone that sees someone across the lifespan. So oftentimes you will find that you may need at least 2 clinical sites in order to meet those requirements or visit requirements in particular. As far as competitiveness, do we have some of the admissions folks? I believe we do, as far as our acceptance rates.
Hi, this is Yelena in admission.
Thank you, Yelena.
Hi. Our admission process is competitive. It does vary by term. For example, our summer term is probably our least competitive term, and our fall term is usually our most competitive term. Normally, our acceptance rate is around just about 50%, but like I said, that does vary by term, and sometimes it does vary by year as well. It just depends how many applicants we get each term. But normally the admission process for the psych program is competitive. So you want to make sure that you go to the admission page, you click on the MSN application steps and review all of the requirements. It'll actually explain to you what you need to put in your essays, what kind of references we require, and what you need to put in your resume. There's an example resume there, so you want to look at that and you want to make sure that you include as much information as possible in your application packet, so that you know, it kind of sets you apart from other applicants. We don't do any type of interview. So really your essays and your resume are just the one way that you can set yourself apart and, you know, tell us about yourself and why you want to do this program. And that will all be kind of considered when you submit your application and it's reviewed and considered for admission.
Thank you so much, Yelena. And it looks like we have a question to kind of build on that. Can you apply if your first year of nursing experience isn't done yet, but will be by the start date? Historically, that has been the case. Is that? Yeah.
Yes. You do want to, so if you are applying, you want to make sure that you will have the full year by the time the program starts. However, if you look at our deadline dates, our application deadlines are several months ahead of the term start date. So if you end up doing that, you'll be applying with a lot less than 1 year of RN experience in some cases. So if that's the case, you just want to highlight that somewhere, maybe on your resume or in your essays, just to kind of let the admission committee know that even though you are applying with less than a year, you will have the full year by the time the program starts.
So I'm going to draw back to our students here that are on the line. Could you please speak to some of the lessons from your journey that you might, kind of pearls of wisdom that you might give to future applicants or students in the program.
Can I start first?
Oh, please do.
Okay, so I got me a little list here. Start looking for a preceptor now, like now. Don't wait until you're about to do clinical. Have like 3 or 4 backup preceptor sites, because they flake, they fall out. I think one of my sites, they was bought by a different company, and the company had different ideas how they wanted students in there, especially being a P's place. So start your clinical sites now to have backup. Use your library services, because the librarians are awesome here. I mean, from hey, I don't know how to reference a statute. She'll answer your question, but usually within a couple hours. They get loans in for you for articles that you can't see. So use your library services. Apply for all the scholarships, and everything's out there. Don't think you won't get it. Apply, because I've gotten, I think, 4 or 5 that, hey, you know, there's great opportunities, great learning experience. And they have, sometimes they have a thing called hardship. I think maybe some of the other students remember me being online during one of our classes during a hurricane. The hurricane was literally passing over my house, tore off my roof, but Frontier helped me recover from that. So apply to those concepts. When you're looking at preceptors, look at the preceptor. Just don't accept anybody, because you will find, being a Frontier student, you may know more than your preceptor. So I've left a couple of sites because I wasn't getting anything from there. And sometimes they'll feel intimidated by your questions. A couple of other students have told me that too. Like Paul said, network. Know your network, know your other students. I hated group projects, but they were there for a reason, for me to interact with the other students. And now I usually talk to most of the students on a daily basis, even though we're not in the same class or in the rotation. So make sure you network. And last thing is, look at your clinical sites. Your clinical sites are an extended job interview. Let me say that again. Your clinical sites are an extended job interview. So I went from sitting, watching my preceptor do patients. Within the first week, she was watching me, and I had my own clinic that all my patients think that they were coming to see me, they're not coming to see her. And I got offered a job to continue that clinic. So your clinical sites are your job interviews. That's it.
April, anything you want to add to that?
Some lessons I've learned. Being brave and thinking bigger with this educational. It is not, like I mentioned earlier, it's not just like the next step. It is so much bigger than that. And what we can do as psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners, it's unlimited. And it has really, this last few months, even through this clinical experience, has really allowed me to do that, to think bigger. And FNU will allow for that. It has that capacity to support you in those dreams and desires. And I know that I'm going to go on and get my DMP through Frontier and just continue with that to be, not to be personally bigger, but to bring more to the community through that education and through those experiences. So that's what I say, be brave.
Thank you, April. That was great. Paul, you got some pearls of wisdom?
Well, I'm going to piggyback on to Keith because number one, I can tell you, living in a 100% rural community, and I've only lived here 5 years and I don't have a lot of contacts. You must start looking for preceptors now. I've already had 6 fail on me. Matter of fact, I just got an email the other day that told me that one of my preceptors is quitting her job at the first of the year, and I was really banking on her. So I still have more out there, and they are all promising to help. So it's important to go ahead and get out there, but also Jamie Wheeler, who is with FNU, who is my you got to look at the webinar about finding preceptor slots and so forth. They give you a lot of good information as to how to find it, how to, You know, I've made so many orange scones that my house just basically reeks of orange scones at my house because I just take boxes of orange scones to these different places. So yeah, treat them. As a matter of fact, I had to interview a nurse practitioner, and I called them today to ask them did they remember me, and I'm in the bridge program, so I've been in the school a little bit longer than most of the people here. So that was like 2 years back. And the office manager called me back almost like within 30 minutes and says, Paul, it's so good to remember you. You know, and when you want to bring some more orange scones, please do. And here is a list of the people that we refer to. And if we can use our name and tell them that we sent you and that you're 100% and that you're, and that's what I'm talking about. You actually get out. FNU helps you get out into the community. And when you get out in that community, you actually are becoming a face in your community to where you are really making a difference. And I think that's what I'm going to be bringing instead of being ostracized in a rural community of being a psychiatric mental nurse practitioner. I think they're going to realize that I'm also working with their medical. So because mental is medical, and we have to remember that, and that's what we have to push. And what you need to know before you started, what do I need to know before I started? Basically, I didn't realize how much that I was just going to be valued as a student at FNU, and I feel value being here. And I feel that when I talk to my RCF, Dr. Dobroth, or when I talk to Dr. Olson in my past classes, and other faculty, I've never met a faculty. And in the mental health, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, the mental health faculty, they love to be there for you and talk to you. And I've gone to many times where I was like, I'm not understanding something, and they would set aside, well, let's talk about it tomorrow night. So you have that in the mental health department. I mean, we really do. And I think that, and Dr. Callahan, he's always available if you truly need him. So, hey, come to FNU. You're going to love it.
Well, just a reminder, these are some of the folks that you can look forward to working with when you come to Frontier. And if you have any questions, I can assure you that we all have an open door policy, so please don't hesitate to reach out. This just a little couple of snapshots of the Versalis campus. It's gorgeous. I just got back from there a couple of weeks ago, and I have to say the food is amazing. I felt like a princess while I was there going to the dining hall because it really is just fantastic. People joke about putting on the freshman 10 when they go to the Versalis campus, but it's just a beautiful environment to learn in, and the amenities are great. They even have a really nice workout center and gym and all kinds of things. So
where did they put the brick?
I love this particular quote: success doesn't come to you, you go to it. So, and I'm going to open it up to a couple more questions, it looks like, that came up. A question from Rebecca: does your preceptor have to be a nurse practitioner, or can it be a psychiatrist? Great question, Rebecca. So when you look at the visit requirements during the clinical coursework, the vast majority of those visit requirements involve medication management so that you will be well prepared in the field of psychiatry. That being said, you want to make sure that you do have a preceptor who is either a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. They may be an MD or DO psychiatrist. You may spend a portion of your hours working with a licensed therapist or social worker, but again, the vast majority of your clinical time will need to be with a prescribing provider. And let's see. I'm just going to open it up to further questions or input from our faculty member, Dr. Olson, or we've got several staff members here to support you as well if they feel like we need to add something. How quickly do you know if you're accepted? Elena, is that something you can speak to?
Yes, typically you'll find out about 6 weeks after the deadline. So for example, we are currently accepting applications for the summer term. The application deadline is January 19th, and we hope to send out admission decisions sometimes towards the end of February. So about 6 weeks or so.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
We've got one more question here.
I thought a lot of the information that was shared was all ideas and things and comments that I've heard from other people, all advice that, you know, I've heard that's very helpful from students and from other people as well, you know, like as far as finding preceptors and starting early and, you know, and getting on that right away. I think that so from my perspective, I can give some information as far as probably having a rigorous course in the program. And that is depending on the type of student that you are, you know, coming into a graduate program, you just want to be prepared and give yourself plenty of time to be able to study. And so, you know, there might be some times or some terms where maybe you'll have more time to, you know, work more or have more free time, but there might be some of the courses that are more rigorous or harder and might require more of your time, and you just want to be prepared for that, depending on what they are. I actually have to say I was kind of impressed that I think someone said that some of the preceptors were actually intimidated by some of our students. Some of the comments I actually was kind of surprised by, so it was very interesting. I'm kind of curious about the orange sconces, but you know, very, very good conversation. I appreciate all of it.
Katie or Rosalie, anything that maybe we missed that you'd like to add?
I'm Katie Graves. I'm one of the clinical advisors in the outreach and placement team. I love that the students on here said, find your precepts now. We cannot stress that enough. It is a difficult task, and we realize that. And so that's why FNU sort of created the unit that I'm in. And we have a wonderful team. And I think it was Paul that said Jamie Wheeler's name. Jamie is actually the clinical advisor that works with the psych mental health students, and she is excellent, wonderful, the best. But any of us can help you at any time, and we are here to support you in your search for your clinical sites and your preceptors. You know, if you're struggling or you need to think out of the box, that sort of thing, you know, any of us can help you. So I can't stress that enough, though. Definitely start looking for your sites and preceptors and networking and stuff too.
Great. And I think it sounds like we addressed all of the questions.
I think you might have missed one. Hannah put one over here.
Okay, can you read that out
Sure.
for me? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, are the psychiatric classes throughout the whole program, or do they only start after the prerequisites are finished?
So as you enter, and I'm assuming we're talking about entry as an MSN student, so those would begin once you've completed the prerequisites, but really when you enter the program, you kind of hit the ground running. So theoretically, those prerequisites would be done before you really start. Again, I think I can speak for everyone. We all have an open door policy. So if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's truly been a pleasure to meet with you all today. And thank you again for all of our support staff that joined us, and a very special thanks to all of the students that took the time out of their busy schedule to be a part of this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.